All right, good evening, everyone. It's 7 o'clock and I'd like to call the Kimberley City Council regular meeting to order for Tuesday, November the 12th, held here on the homelands of the Ktunaxa peoples. Welcome, everybody. Do we have any late items, Maurice?
There is no late item, Mr. Mayor.
All right, hearing none, could I have a mover to adopt the agenda? Councillor McBain, thank you. Councillor Dunneback seconds. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Next up, we have the adoption of the minutes of the regular meeting from October the 15th. Councillor Roberts moves. Councillor McGuire seconds. Any opposed? Motion is carried. And finally, the minutes of the special meeting of council held on November the 4th. Councillor Roberts moves. Councillor McBain seconds. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Awesome. Formalities out of the way. We have a delegation here tonight from the Kimberley Curling Club. You guys keep a low profile with us, very high profile in the community, and we're anxious to hear about all of your awesome exploits. So take it away.
Sure. Thank you very much for having me tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to give an update on what we're up to, and know that you have a number of upcoming decisions, especially related to facilities master plan and what that looks like as things get implemented or not going forward. And we hope that you keep us in mind, or at least understand what we're up to and how we fit in the community. And so when I talked to the mayor at the fall fair and was kind of giving him a few updates on what we're up to, he was pretty surprised, I think it's fair to say, on a couple of the points that we hit. So wanted to share some of that to you as well. And as well, maybe highlight some of the issues that we're dealing with, and particularly as it relates to the city, just so that kind of, again, there's an awareness. We have a lot of other issues that don't relate to the city. I won't get into those tonight. But hopefully kind of use this platform to make sure that you know what's going on. So we go to the next slide, please. So maybe a quick background on myself. So
Sorry,
yeah.
Blair, just for folks that are tuning in on YouTube, do you want to kind of state your name and title?
Yeah, so my name is Blair Jarvis. I'm the manager at the Kimberley Curling Club. I started in that role in spring of 2022, and actually moved here to Kimberley in fall of 2020. And actually we did a bit of scouting on the curling club to make sure that what it was up to, or what it was like, having come from Calgary and played at a club that had a great culture. It was something that was important to us, and we weren't sure whether we could do that in Kimberley or whether we'd have to go to Cranbrook. So we were pleasantly surprised, given the size of the community, kind of what the club was doing. And I was pretty excited to be able to become part of that when I started as manager, and saw a lot of opportunity for growth, to be honest with you. And two of the things that I'm most proud of, and I'm kind of showing on this first slide, is the growth of our junior program, in particular over the last 3 years coming out of COVID. I remember that first open house, we had kind of 16 or 18 kids sign up. And then as our school group started, we got a few more and a few more, and it's kind of continued to snowball like that. And then before last season, a few of our high school boys approached me and said, "Hey, we want to restart the high school team and we need a coach. So can you coach us?" And yeah, I can do that. And so that team kind of got started, and actually then got me going on my coaching journey. And now I get to coach 2 junior teams, and maybe a third if we can't find a girls coach. But really where we are now is I'm hoping that by the end of this year, we will have 40 kids in our junior program. We are hosting U18 provincials here in December, and we will have 2 boys teams there. At least one has expectations to medal. And then the other boys team will play at high school provincials that we're hosting at the end of February. And they finished tied for 4th last year, and expectations that they will improve upon that this year. So it's not just that these guys are participating, but they are putting in lots of work and expect to see kind of some positive results out of that. I'll talk a little more probably about our junior program as we go, but because I could talk for an hour on that. But the other thing is that our membership has steadily grown over the last decade. Before my time, the manager before me, when he started, they were only running curling 3 days a week, basically. And they were worried that we may go kind of the way of some other small town clubs struggling to survive. And through a lot of hard work and some good vision that they started on a good path, we can say now that membership's probably double what it was a decade ago. And that since, again, coming out of COVID, we've experienced steady growth every year. And even though we struggle with a demographic issue that the broader curling industry has had, that we've been able to overcome that and, again, continue to grow. And like a big sort of feather in our hat, last year we started an instructional league, and we had, I don't know, 14 or 15 people last year. Like, oh, that was okay. We kept about 3/4 of them in our leagues this year, so that's good. And then this year we have almost 40, including Councillor Fox, and she can talk to how she's enjoying it so far. But I was actually overwhelmed to see the interest that we've got this year, and hoping that it's actually forced us to recalibrate of what are we going to do with these people? We thought, oh, if we have a dozen, we can move them into this one league. Now there's a big enough cohort. We might have to create a new league for them to still have a place to play. And so these are good problems to have. But I think it puts us on a good path that we feel comfortable that we're not just going to be struggling or trying to survive, but that we can grow and will continue to grow. And so if we go to the next slide, how do we do it? And I think Kimberley's kind of fortunate that there's a lot of us who have come to the community recently. And as a curling community, that means a lot of people have come from clubs in Saskatchewan or the Lower Mainland or Alberta or Ontario or elsewhere and be like, oh, this is what we did there. This is what we did there. So we get lots of questions of, why aren't you marketing like this? Why don't you have a league like this or a program like this? And so this slide talks about a lot of different things that we've tried to do over the last 3 years that have probably come from 30 or 40 different people in terms of just asking questions. And with me in place having a little more time than our previous manager, we've been able to actually jump on this. And so one of the things Gavin likes to say is, when the lights are out, we're losing money. And so while we are a curling club, we are more than just curling. So a couple of years ago, someone approached us, hey, can you do a music show in your lounge? Absolutely. Last year, I think we hosted 8 different music shows, of which mostly attended by non-curlers. We have the Military Aims garage sale in the summer. We've hosted the McKim orientation for incoming grade 4 students, and a dry place for the Wild Site summer camp in the summer, and the darts league. And there's a bunch of those different things that we've, let's say, become an important host for several of those activities. And maybe some of them become curlers, but if not, a city facility is at least being used for many more days than it otherwise would be if it was only for curling. And so we will continue to try to expand and make it known that, hey, if you have an event coming up and are looking for a place, come talk to us. We're relatively low cost, and we can be flexible with a lot of different things. But when we do talk about curling, it's, okay, we have these new curlers coming in, but in 2 years, Councillor Fox is going to be, hey, how do I keep getting better? And so we've started structurally adding more intermediate programs, more advanced programs, so that curlers can continue to develop at their pace, at their interest, so that we are fostering not only recreational curlers, but people can sort of be as competitive as you want to be. And that's the great thing about curling, is that you can come out and throw rocks for an hour and a half and go up and have a drink and make it very social. Or you can get quite serious and get a real good workout from your 2 hours on the ice. And so we want to make sure that, hey, we're a sport for life, and that we can be at whatever competition level you want to be, whatever social level you want to be, but most importantly, kind of a very welcoming community that will fit the needs of whatever you're looking for. And I talked about kind of high school provincials and U18 provincials. We're going to have 80 kids probably at each event, and their families coming to the community for 4 or 5 days. So they're going to stay at our hotels, eat at our restaurants, and also contribute to the community beyond just the 4 walls of our building. And maybe I'll go to the next slide. And so it's not perfect. We are struggling with the 60-year-old building that has a lot of little gremlins in it. I think for us, we're in a bit of a holding pattern on a few items because our lease expired about a year ago. We're waiting for a new one. We understand that the city is hoping to standardize their lease agreements across all their facilities, which makes sense, but we're just not quite sure what does that mean for us in terms of any changes of our bathrooms, our responsibility, or will the city make sure that those get updated, or kind of details like that. And then obviously with the facilities master plan and an unknown future of the existing facility, we would be hesitant to spend any money upgrading the lounge, for example, until we know, is this a building that is going to be around for 3 more years or 30 more years? And so as the city works through those decisions, then we can get more clarity in terms of how do we address the building and make it as good as it can be going forward. And we're doing a lot of patching and sort of covering for things. Our pad that has settled a couple of inches, like, well, okay, we have to add extra water here and hope we get it right. And we haven't got it quite right yet this year, but hopefully I can fix it this weekend. And so there's lots of little things like that that we're trying to cope with. And we will. But I do want to say that the city operations staff is great to work with. When we do say, hey, there's a leak on the roof, they're up there clearing that ice jam and trying to help us out. Or we needed to get in somebody to hook up the hose so we can do our floods. And they're doing that 2 or 3 times a day for us through September and October. And so we are greatly appreciative of those efforts. And I think my time's probably just about up, but I do want just to say that we celebrated our 100th year this past year in 2024, and happy to claim that, hey, we have the largest junior program in the Kootenays. We have the largest curling pro shop in the Kootenays. We have the only person who's part of the inaugural associate curling professional program in the Kootenays. And I think outside of any of the big city clubs, we send the most teams to provincial events. I think it was 6 or 7 events last year that we had representation at. And so we can't compete with Royal City in Vancouver, but we compete very favorably with any club in a community under 100,000 people. I would put us up against anybody. And so we will continue to try to do that and continue to grow. And hopefully in 2 years, if I come back, we'll have some more good news to share with all of you. So thank you very much.
Awesome, Blair. Thanks for that. What a great summary. Council, questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Cairns.
Thank you so much. That's it's really great to hear about everything that's underway, and I had no idea. And so, and really exciting to hear about the junior program and youth coming back in and a really fast recovery post-COVID. And yeah, so congratulations. And I'll have to stop by sometime and have a visit.
Absolutely be happy.
Yeah, thanks so much for your work.
Thanks, sir. Go ahead, Sandra.
Oh, thank you very much. I I've been around here a long time. This curling club has, as every organization has its ebbs and flows. And the thing that makes it flow the best is a passionate leader, somebody who cares enough about it to really put the energy into it. And to see the kids coming back and being able to get that from the ground up, it's really awesome to see because it's a wonderful sport. And as you know, we've managed to get Canadian champions out of this club. And so it's just really, I really applaud you for stepping up and doing something that you really love to do and making a difference in the community.
Thank you.
Thanks. Councillor Roberts. Councillor McBain, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I would echo everybody's sentiments in here. It's really cool to just to see some new energy kind of getting infused into the club and new membership as well. Yeah, really exciting. And what I did like is a couple of the slides here too, highlighting some of the issues. And it's good for us to know. I think a lot of times, you know, we tend to put a lot of our focus towards the Civic Center, just given the fact that, you know, the dynamiters are there and you know, it brings a lot of people in. But as you pointed out, you know, the club does have a lot of history, and, you know, what you've demonstrated too is there's a little bit of revitalization going on. So I like the fact that you've laid out some of the issues that are here, and, you know, a lot of them we already know from building assessments and whatnot.
Yep.
But it is good to keep it at the forefront of our mind as well, just so that we don't lose sight of, you know, only focusing on some of the, you know, the Civic Center and some of the other bigger pieces of infrastructure. It's really helps us keep our eye on the prize. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor McBain. Councillor Dunback, was that a raised hand? The floor is yours.
I love the fact that you've developed a youth side of it. I'm curious as to, like, what would be the initial investment for somebody that was wanting to sign their child up?
Yeah. So the great thing is that, and this started before I got here, but they got some grants for curling shoes and curling brooms, and we've been fortunate through some of the stuff we've done to keep that going. So a child can join our program for $100 for 18 weeks on Friday afternoons. It includes 2 pizza parties and some prize. You got to bribe them with food sometimes.
You have to be a kid.
Yeah, but we also, if there's someone who needs some support with that, through our sponsorship and stuff, like, we'll make sure that any child who wants to curl can curl at our facility. So
Yeah, that's awesome, and it's really, like, I can feel your passion almost with the way you're talking here. So it's really awesome to see somebody driven with passion and have a direction. It's great to see. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Dunback. So it wasn't all that many years ago when the facility was shut down for, I think it was for 1 year.
yes,
When the building assessment came in, and the club rallied around that and took it upon themselves to raise the $700,000 or so that it took to get that renovation in place. So you guys have been passionate, not just about the programs that you're putting on, but about making sure that they're going to last, given the state of the building, which we really appreciate. The short term, I think the chiller has taken on a high priority for safety reasons primarily.
yep,
So regardless of what happens with the facilities assessment, I think we're going to see that move ahead sooner than later. And we're hoping to have the assessments and some of the recommendations come in here soon on how the configuration of our ice surfaces is going to work. So we definitely will be keeping you guys informed as to what that's all about as we go forward. Thanks very much for the presentation and for all the great work you guys are doing in the community.
thank you very much.
You bet. All right, next up, we have the fire service bylaw amendment. We have 3 readings, and we need to do each of these separately. So Could I have a mover, please, for the first of these, which is to provide first reading for the fire service bylaw? Thank you, Councillor McGuire. Seconded, Councillor Fox. We had a discussion on this, I believe, at the last regular meeting. However, Chief, could you kind of just give us a brief summary here on what we're doing?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. So what we're looking at here is just legislation coming down from the province with the change from the Fire Service Act to the Fire Safety Act. There'll be 4 large changes that come out of that affecting Kimberley. Tonight, we're looking at requiring local authorities to designate personnel to conduct fire inspections and investigations, and enabling local fire services to perform tactical evacuations. That's what this amendment will capture. Outside of that, we'll be looking at in the future establishing an administrative penalty enforcement model to address non-compliance issues in a more direct, timely, and effective manner. Implementing a risk-based approach for fire safety compliance monitoring in municipalities. And lastly, creating a self-assessment compliance and monitoring program for inspectable properties within the city. So throughout the year and in the future, we'll be looking at all of the 4 of those points. And tonight we're looking at the individual point of the designation of fire inspector and investigator.
Awesome. Thanks, Chief. Council, any questions or comments on this? Right, hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Next up, we have a motion to grant second reading to this bylaw. Councillor Roberts moves, Councillor McGuire seconds. All those in favor? Motion is carried. And finally, the council give third reading to the bylaw. Councillor McBain moves and Councillor Fox seconds. All those in favor? Motion is carried. So when will this be coming back for adoption? Probably next meeting, next regular meeting? Is that the expectation? Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks, Chief. Next up, we have the City of Kimberley check run in the amount of $1,592,477 to be approved as paid. Mover, please. Councillor McBain, thank you. Councillor Roberts seconds. Any non-routines anybody would like to bring up? Go ahead, Councillor Roberts.
It looks a little bit higher, but generally speaking, it's a kind of end of season payment for contracting work that we've been doing for $330,000. So that kind of pumps it up out of the norm a bit. But other than that, it's pretty much as usual.
All right. It's been a busy year
Yeah.
For the ops folks, that's for sure. Okay, next up, we have one item, of course. Okay, go ahead.
I was just wondering why there's a pretty big one to Martech that was canceled if there was a job that maybe failed or something. It seems like a large sum of money that was, if I'm reading it right.
Which,
Right
what,
on the very top of the report.
The
yeah,
$47,000.
$7,000.
I think it went on to a different check run where they did an electronic transfer.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Okay.
yep, thanks for that, Councillor Roberts. Further? You're good? Okay. Call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Okay, we have one item of correspondence tonight. Could I have a mover to accept? Councillor Fox moves, Councillor Dunneback seconds. So I think what I'm hoping, and I think what Corey and Renner are hoping is that our media folks pick up on this and get a little bit of visibility in the community on the month of November being identified as Adoption and Permanency Awareness Month. I want to just take a moment and go down the bullets that they have asked us to share. The first is Adopt BC Kids, which is an online portal that provides British Columbians wishing to adopt children and youth from foster care with information and guidance through the adoption application. The Ways to Adopt British Columbia website, which provides information on adoption in BC. such as infant adoption, relative and step-parent adoption, and adopting a child and or youth from another country. There is also another website, which is formerly the Adoptive Families Association of BC, that provides information and support services for families who wish to adopt now or in the future. And finally, adoptionbc.com, which is a detailed and comprehensive guide to additional adoption resources. There are a lot of families that, or a lot of couples that are looking for a whole host of reasons to not have children of their own, where adoption is a great option. And this organization does an awesome job of putting all that together. So November is the month of awareness. Go ahead, Councillor Cairns.
Thank you. I'm just wondering if it's possible, would we, share a link to this information on city site, like on our Facebook or on the website or anything, or how will this work?
But I think what we can do is we can share that as part of the not the minutes, but the council.
The update.
The council update, yeah, from the meeting that goes over the summary of the meeting. We can provide some links there. Yeah, great suggestion. Thank you.
Just one more thing. Imagine the bulletin picks up on
They do.
this throughout. Thanks.
Yep, they do indeed. All right, call the question. All those in favor of receipt? Any opposed? Motion is carried. All right, that is the extent of our regular agenda. We do have a couple of items in camera. If I could have a mover to move from regular meeting to in camera. Councillor McBain, thank you. And Councillor Fox seconds. Any opposed? The motion is carried. All right, we'll take 1 minute to make the switch over.
Job, Chief. Nailed it.
Thanks, Will. Yeah. And watch when you're backing out of your parking spot. Yep. See you, Will.